Good morning, my name is Stephen Capaldo, and it is Thursday, March 7, 2024. Thank you for listening. Today I'm going to talk about something that I think should be of concern to all, and I'm going to sort of bring in some personal experience, and maybe, that will be useful. Maybe some people will want to think about it. What I'm going to talk about today is Pharmakeia, which is it's a topic in scripture, and you can notice from that word, you can notice words like pharmacy and pharmaceutical and pharmacology and all that stuff. And generally it's considered to be some type of medication, but there is, in the ancient world, there was an association between pharmakeia and witchcraft and sorcery, and just poisoning people for control. And so I just have a couple of passages that I'll read before I go into kind of explaining what happened to me a little over a year ago, and kind of the aftermath of that, and some of the things that I'm paying attention to now. But in Galatians 5:20, the works of the flesh, they're talking about idolatry, sorcery, that's pharmakeia, hatred, contentions, jealousy, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like. Of which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in time past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. And one more passage being Revelation 18:23, which is, the light of a lamp shall not shine in you anymore, and the voice of bridegroom and bride shall not be heard in you anymore. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery all the nations were deceived. So this is about the spell, Babylon. Babylon's spell of idolatry, vice, and murder bound the whole civilized world with a bewitching belief that she was immortal and secure, but as her influence was total, so her destruction is total. No sounds of life are seen or heard, and eerie silence pervades. Okay, so that's the idea there, is that sorcery is used to deceive the nations. And I think the way that fits into the current situation is that, people have been bewitched into believing that, they take some magic pill, or get some magic procedure, and all their health problems are solved. And really that's not the case. And as we all know, this is no great revelation, if you've been paying attention for a little while, to just in general, not to me, but just to what's been going on throughout the world, is that the pharmaceutical industry makes a lot of money, and doctors are actually rewarded for getting people to take more medications and get more procedures and this type of thing. And at best, medications, they control symptoms. They're not a solution to the health and wellness issue. Doctors, if you have a broken arm or a broken leg, by all means, go and get it fixed. They'll do a very good job. But as far as counseling on health and wellness, I'm not so sure about that. I think the approach in the Western medical establishment, in my experience, is basically medications, of which there are some problems, and I'll describe those medications and procedures. So what happened to me a little over a year ago, it was late January 2023, is that I had some kind of arrhythmia, some kind of irregularity of the heartbeat. The word tachycardia was used, but also the term AFib was used. So, but it was some kind of arrhythmia, to use a general term. So I went, my lungs were filling up with fluid, so I went to what we had around there. I was still in Rhode Island at the time, but I went to urgent care and got transported to hospital by ambulance, and was treated, medicated for the fluid and for the arrhythmia. And so I was in hospital for about, that week, basically. I think it happened on a Monday, and I think Saturday morning, around the 4th of February, I was discharged from the place. And then what they put me on was a course of treatment unlike anything I'd ever had before. I had maybe on average taken 1 to 3 medications at one time, but never more than that. And my approach is, if you can get targeted medication or treatment that can actually help remedy a problem, then it's a good thing to do. But what happened to me was really just crazy. They put me on a course of treatment for 6 months of 10 pills a day. And 10 pills a day, I mean, just if you consider the side effects of that, you know, the dizziness and the nausea, and it's the you know, the unstable walking and things like that. You know, is the cure in some ways worse than the ailment? You know, this was after 6 months of this. You know, this is what I was wondering, and it was a whole bunch of different stuff to combat this situation, which you know, I mean, it did do something for the arrhythmia. But one of the medications that was supposed to do something good for the arrhythmia was something called amiodarone. And I think it would, if you've ever been in a position to take this or hear about this, or you know somebody in that situation, I think it would be very good to do some research on what amiodarone does. And it's not just 2 or 3 cranks saying it. The problem in trying to deal with the medical establishment is if you bring up these issues, you know, the mainstream doctors are going to say, well, that's just a few cranks. But it isn't. If you keep digging deeper, it's not a few cranks. You know, just to give you another example, is the doctors will very easily say that you should continue vaccinations. Just keep getting vaccinated for this and vaccinated in that. And especially the older that the physical body gets, you know, the more determined the doctors are to keep you in this vaccination circle, right? And the thing is that now the medical community, since the coronavirus thing, whatever you want to call it, happened, you know, the medical community is not speaking with one voice anymore about vaccinations. It used to be, and I listened very carefully to this, as I'm sure many of you did, it used to be maybe just 2 or 3 cranks here and there that were speaking up, but now there are many doctors who are saying that at a minimum, you know, we should take a look at this sort of automatic vaccination that we do of everybody, you know, starting from childhood and until old age, because there are possible consequences of it. You know, I mean, there's some link to, potentially at least, to autism. There are other things that these vaccinations have been doing. A lot of people, especially young people, have mysteriously had heart problems or even died from this coronavirus vaccination. And it's hard to say. I mean, we all know people who had the vaccination and they got it anyway, or they had some other consequence. And we know people who didn't have the vaccination and they didn't get it. You know, I didn't have the vaccination and I got it, so maybe some people will say, well, good on you, you know, that you should have taken the vaccination, but I don't believe that. And there was even some talk that possibly this arrhythmia, stop, that's my dog. He's eating something, chewing something. There was even some suggestion that the arrhythmia was caused by having had COVID. There was no history of arrhythmia in my family, but you know, I did have COVID, so then there's that possibility. And so you just don't know, and I think you get the impression sometimes that the caregivers are just, they're not sure about a lot of things. They're just kind of almost guessing in a way. So anyway, this is some of the background of what happened to me, and I took these 10 pills for 6 months, and I had the side effects and this and that. And the amiodarone was the one that was of particular concern, because if you do your research on that, you see that it can damage other organs. And of course, nobody told me about this until I was 4 months into the treatment. You know, I had 6 months of this last spring and summer, basically, or winter to summer. And after 4 months, somebody said, oh, by the way, it might damage your kidney. Okay, well, so, you know, you get to the point of, you know, it's going to damage other organs and you have side effects and this and that, and you kind of wonder, if you're trying to treat one thing but it makes the rest of your life difficult, are you any further ahead? And I think that's the Pharmakeia mentality, is just that you just, you know, people have had this spell cast upon them of, you know, you don't question, you just listen to what your doctor says, you just pump yourself up with all these medications. And the story went on. You know, I had not good, some of my lab numbers were not very good, you know, twice in the summer, early and late summer, I would say, last year. And then I had another one that you know, I think was better, you know, before I moved, you know, from Rhode Island to South Carolina. But there was evidence of damage that was not there before I was taking amiodarone. And so, you know, so a lot of that has stabilized now. But still, you know, there are things that have to be monitored. I mean, I'm at the point now of basically monitoring those things that you normally monitor when you're getting older. The physical body is getting older, but and that's okay. I don't mind that. But to have had this thing happen, and to be expected just to be like in a factory and just come in and just do what I'm told to do and not ask any questions and this and that, and then to knowingly prescribe things which you know will have serious side effects and will even cause damage to other things which you're not even being treated for, you know. Well, I think that's where we are in the medical profession right now, and I think that that people should really, and I'm not saying to change if you take medication or you're having treatment of some kind. I'm not saying to change that. No, I'm saying try to target it to what's really essential and get a GP that you can work with who will recognize that and not just give you more and more and more and say you need this procedure, you need that procedure. So anyway, I had, you know, my GP was not aware of this until after it happened. And then he was very supportive. That was fine. None of this that happened was his fault, so I'm not blaming him. But certainly to go into the world of specialists, you know, this was a, you know, kind of a scary place, you know. And I'm not a person given to fear, but I was quite disgusted with the whole situation. And you know, I don't want to spend whatever, you know, whatever I have left in this form, you know, I don't want to spend it in and out of specialist offices, that's for sure. I mean, if there's something specific, targeted, that can be treated and the situation improved, okay. But this just, you know, just more pills and more pills and more pills, and finally I had to be taken off of most of it because they knew it was doing damage, so they had to take me off of it. So then I had a couple of bad lab reports for certain things, and then it got better. And then I moved, but before I moved, you know, I had been dealing with an NMP and a cardiologist in the specialists realm, and then I went and I had a meeting with someone called an electrophysiologist, who said, well, there's a procedure that we can give you, we can do this to you, and we completely recommend it because you're probably going to get this again, and we completely recommend that you do it, and if you don't do it, it might be bad news, but if you do it, it might not be good news. And, you know, something like, I don't know, a third or more of the people who have this procedure, they go back into some type of arrhythmia again. And so, you know, this is just something that is not thought through, and I would say deliberately not thought through, to hold people in some kind of bondage or some kind of spell, instead of people empowering themselves to take charge of their own health and wellness. And so anyway, I never did get that procedure, and you know, I just established myself with a new GP, and my heart seems to be fine. So okay, if there's an emergency, I'll be there. But I mean, in the meantime, it seems like whatever was there is not there, and you know, just trying to scare people, this, you know, it's not going to work. You know, if there's something to take care of, I'll take care of it. But to allow yourself to be intimidated by someone, that's not very good. So anyway, along this journey, because of this bad experience with specialists and medication and this and that, I tried to go into taking supplements, and up until recently, I was taking quite a few supplements for different things. And supplements is another thing that, you know, they are very expensive and they're not covered by insurance, and it's hard to know what they're doing good for and what they're not doing good for. And I was maybe taking half a dozen of them for different things, you know, circulation and cholesterol and liver and kidney and this and that, urinary tract, this type of thing, but a bunch of them. And if I look at, you know, what my most recent lab said and these supplements, I can see maybe good in one or two areas, but I can see in other areas it didn't seem to do much good, and because of all the other drawbacks of, you know, the price, and it's not the difficulty in measuring, you know, what good is being done, and it's not covered by insurance. I mean, there are a number of drawbacks as well. And, I mean, if you're going to take something like asparagus extract, you know, maybe the better thing to do is just eat asparagus, you know, and that type of thing. Eat the healthy things that you can find. I mean, and hopefully you get them organic and not super treated with a lot of unhealthy chemicals, but you do your best. And that's better, because if you take all these supplements and you're not buying the fresh stuff, that's not very good for the farming community, right? That's not very good, and that's not very good for us, other people as well, I would say. So, anyway, this is kind of the metamorphosis or epiphany or whatever you want to call it that I've been going through the last year or so. And I'm not, you know, most of the GPs that I've had have been fine. I had one that I didn't like, but most of them have been fine. But it's going into the world of specialists, and it's not just cardio. I remember having I guess a urologist anyways, to have a colonoscopy done, and this guy wanted to test me for all kind of other things, you know, including, you know, stuff that was not even in my family, you know, and then, of course, the insurance stopped him at some point and said, you know, you were hired to do a colonoscopy, just do that. And, you know, that was fine, but this guy, you know, he was not very scrupulous. He was looking for every test, everything he could possibly test, and then build the insurance for that. So you run into that type of thing as well. So I think that this, you have to learn how to depend less on medical insurance and less on medications and procedures and more on yourself, because God created us with healing ability, and we have not tapped into that healing ability. We've put a cloud over that healing ability and masked it from ourselves by taking all these vaccinations and medications, and we're into that culture. So I think you have to go. I'm not saying, you know, forget about Western medicine and just go to Eastern medicine or this or that. I'm not taking sides with anybody. I'm saying that you have a body that was given to you by God, and you have a responsibility to take the best care you can of that body. And I'm not saying that some targeted, focused, you know, medication and treatment is a bad thing. It might be a good thing if it really helps you, but you really have to kind of stop focusing so much on that and start focusing more on the health and wellness things. And those things, you know, we know what they are, and I've talked about them a few times, but they basically have to do with diet and exercise. So you know about that, and that's really where the emphasis should be. But the key to that is you have to try to find a GP that really will work with you on that, and will not just keep giving you pills and drawing the benefit from that for himself or herself. But you're not getting any better. All you're doing with these pills is you're managing symptoms. You're not curing root causes. Now, some things in your family, that's tough. You know, it'd be better to get off of all medication, but if something's in your family, that's a tougher nut to crack. But you minimize the medication. You minimize the medications that you take that would have side effects, and you minimize any procedures, you know, and going into this specialist world where, you know, it's in their interest financially to keep you sick and keep you under the knife or whatever, to keep you with these different treatments. So I know that's, you know, maybe I'll get shot down, you know, for saying things like this. Maybe they'll you know, take off my YouTube. I mean, I don't really know, and I don't really care, but I think some things need to be exposed, and you need to be aware and actually do things. I mean, if you don't do things to help your health, you don't have a chance of getting healthy, right? So anyway, I think, you know, at this point in my life, you know, the physical body is aging, but still, you don't tell yourself that you can't do things. If you tell yourself that you can't do things, then you will not be able to do things, right? There are things that I have to maybe modify how I do them, but I don't tell myself I can't do things. I focus on the health and wellness aspect, and if there is some targeted medication or treatment that can really make a difference, then of course, you know, and if there's any emergency, well, you have to deal with the emergency. But people have to be much more logical and objective and systematic and health and wellness focused, and not just let themselves be ambushed by the medical establishment, because the medical establishment, I think we saw it during coronavirus. I think we see it in this whole vaccination program that we've had since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. you know, all in all, to be charitable, at a minimum, it's something that needs to be reviewed. Do we need to be doing all this to children and adults, and, you know, all these shots for, you know, school and work and military and travel and this and that? Do we need to do all this, or is it just something that, you know, is foisted on us by the medical establishment because they're controlled by other people who are controlled by other people? And okay, you get into the whole matrix, deep state thing, you know, New World Order thing, you know, World Health Organization, United Nations. Okay, I don't need to get into all of that, but just this is something that is very practical and for you individually. So you know, I think that's really my advice, is just to kind of reset your whole approach to your health and wellness, if you need to, if you have not done so already. So I'll stop there, and thank you for listening. I hope it was helpful. Bye for now.